Hello, Lisen. Thanks for taking the time. Really excited that we're able to connect and chat. I love talking to smart technical founders that are building stuff. And like we were talking about before recording, just selfishly, I want to learn. So it's like a great hack to learn. So appreciate you being on the show today.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, Nectar. I'm excited to be here.
Maybe to get right into it, man. So you run a startup called Discrepancy AI out of Toronto. You're a technical founder, you're a software engineer. Maybe walk us through starting your company. What led you to that insight of, hey, I need to start a startup?
Yeah. So I was a AI engineer at a document processing company here in Toronto, and I was helping build out their generative AI capabilities. And that's really where I saw the limitations with kind of the state of the art of how document processing works. So I got to work in the industry. I got to see what's happening, and I really got ideas about how to improve it. And then after that position, I knew that I wanted to improve something about this industry. Specifically, the flow for processing documents has been the same for a really long time. It's using a technology called OCR, and it was like created and hasn't really had much meant like it hasn't evolved much since 1995. So we're still using this exact same technology, and I saw the impacts of it myself. So our initial product was, how do we improve OCR document processing for what the engineers are actually doing? Because my job was to take this OCR content and figure out how to convert it in a way that we could extract insights from and make some sort of decisions. But with current AI capabilities, that whole model, that whole workflow goes out the window. And a lot of companies are trying to preserve these millions of dollars that they spent building these OCR capabilities. And they're just trying to shoehorn latest AI models in there. And I noticed a ton of challenges and problems with this approach. So that's why with Discrepancy AI, I threw all that out the window and I built AI system from scratch based on what the current capabilities are, specifically to convert any document into JSON data. That's like the technical term, but really we want to go from any data to any data. That's really the end goal of Discrepancy AI. So right now we're helping convert unstructured documents into JSON data, into income verification. We're also helping companies generate reports from this unstructured data. So our end goal, where we want to get to, is from any data source to any data source. And these AI models can sit in the middle. And because they're omni-channel, they can analyze these documents as a human would analyze by looking at them. And if you build the appropriate flows, you can pretty much automate any document workflow using just a series of these models chained together.
Yeah, super interesting, man. Super interesting. Yeah, a ton of questions. Maybe I'll start with maybe just a basic use case, right? So, why did your customer pay you what do these see in terms of the value? And walk us through like a simple use case, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now with current technologies, let's say they want to do income verification, right? So that's a really big use case for us. Whether it's someone screening like rental screening, mortgage screening, loan applications, there's so many different types of use cases for this one task of income verification. Right now, most companies are like 80% manual review of these documents for these use cases that I laid out. If you wanted to build an AI for this, and this is the reason why it's manual, is that for OCR, every single type of bank statement requires its own model you have to fine tune. So one for RBC, one for TD, one for all of these banks. And then with pay stubs, there's so many different types of pay stubs. So this is really a limiting factor with how the current OCR technology works. And that's really where our use case shines, is that we can remove all these 80% human, we can save 80% on human costs for reviewing these documents. And you don't need to have a separate AI model for every document. So with our customers, yeah, they've seen a reduction in costs for reviewing these documents by over 80%. So for income verification, we've seen over 80% decrease in cost.
Yeah, so like you're not replacing another software tool, you're replacing labor time in essence.
So right now they're using both. That's the interesting thing, that right now they're using the software tool, but because the accuracy of it is so low, that for the average hit rate, is like under 10%. So like they have the AI models, and then on top of that, 90% of these documents still have to be reviewed by a person because they're so different. Because real world documents, like someone takes a screenshot, like their thumbs in it when you're dealing with real world documents, Like that's where OCR sucks, really. And that's where these new omni-channel models are better.
Interesting. Yeah. I work at HR at a big enterprise company. We use Concur. I'm an employee and I snap photos of the restaurant invoice and or and that gets uploaded to the cloud. That part, just recognizing the picture, etc. That gets fed into Concur, but then there needs to be someone on the other side in the finance team that does the reconciliation, and that's where you sit on top of as maybe a very kind of like simple example.
Exactly, exactly. Because our system can return the exact structured data that like any application needs, we can seamlessly plug in there and convert that data that's extracted from those documents directly into the JSON, kind of technical this term, but into the exact shape of data that application needs with no middle steps. So that way we can seamlessly fit into any application to really extract and analyze that data.
Yeah. Maybe a dumb question here, but it's I was like lately I've been using a lot of OpenAI's reasoning model to upload documents and hey, here's a pitch deck and tell me ask questions and prompt it. And it does a pretty good job at recognizing the document. Is do you so yeah, just maybe a broad question. So do you sit on top of these generative models? Are you using an API that connects to Anthropic or OpenAI? So yeah, just curious to hear on the technical side.
Yeah, so we've developed a system that we call AI tool chaining. So really interesting. I was inspired actually. I was reading Isaac Asimov's iRobot, and in it he's talking about like the evolution of these humanoid robots. And in one of the later models, he's it's called the hand and fingers, where you have one main AI model that controls other smaller AI models, and they distribute the task and workload. And this way, it's able to work better and like do harder tasks. And I'm actually doing kind of the same thing where we call it AI tool chaining, but we're able to have multiple AI models chained together, one after the other, to analyze this task, to analyze these documents. And we have like internal ranking for what's better at analysis, what's better at extraction, what's better at math. So using these internal rankings, we're able to create a chain of thought, really a chain of multiple AI models, not just one, to process these documents how our users want. So we're using some models that we trained ourselves, some open source ones, and we've built a system where all of these models can work together to come up with these end results.
Interesting. Yeah. So it's your own proprietary method in essence.
Correct. It's our own proprietary method,
Yeah.
and we use some open source models, some tuned models that we for our specific tasks. But we're not reliant on any one model. That's the cool thing. Google can be down, GPT can be down, and our system is like robust to that. So that's another upside of this. And it never falls for like the if one of the models were to hallucinate, another one would catch it. So hallucinations go down by using the system because a lot of times something that one model gets wrong, another model won't get wrong. So I call it like AI by committee. So these AI models forming a committee actually improves the results a lot. And in fact, you've probably heard about these like thinking models. And believe it or not, there's nothing special about these thinking models. It is the same AI model that they run in a
Mm.
loop, and it takes the results from the previous time it ran and feeds it into itself, and it runs into a loop until it's generated a certain amount of tokens, and then it uses those thinking tokens to generate out the response. So we're doing that, but on steroids, by having multiple models do this. So multiple models are thinking with each other, and then the main model, the hand model, takes the results from the fingers and generates the final output.
That's really interesting, man. That's really interesting. And so, how do you know there's no errors? Because if there's no human, I imagine there's no 20 people behind, like double checking that hey, the image at the bottom right is actually correct. So, how do you reduce that? I don't know if it's hallucination or error rate, whatever the right language is, but yeah, how do you validate that? Hey, this is actually accurate.
For sure. Yeah. One of the things, as I said, is having running it through the multiple AI models and comparing the results to make sure that it's the same result. Yeah. So yeah, we've done multiple things where to try and decrease this. So we have an internal confidence score where we make sure that if it's a high confidence score, less likely of human error. We also pull out the specific point in the file where it extracted some data from, so it's easily retrievable. And this also
Mm.
decreases error rate when the AI has to actually provide an explanation for what it returned. It will actually perform better. But at the end of the day, everything, like even a human can make mistakes. So nothing is certain. We're just trying to actually make that accuracy rate better than a person. And then like mistakes happen, but if we can make it better than a human, then we can see some save a lot of costs for our
Yeah.
customers.
So going back to that in almost say like inference side, or sorry, the training side, right? So it's you have multiple models, you're error correcting. So I imagine over time you could spot the same things and then improve them in the end output. How does that? I imagine that compares very closely to how OpenAI trains their model, right? The whole concept of RHLF, of people double checking and make sure that thing gets corrected in the future. So imagine it must have taken you like a lot of training on documents, right? So how did you access all these documents? Was you scraping the web? Did you like work with like design customers to figure it out?
Yeah. So what we did is we worked very closely with customers before we even had a company, and we partnered with a customer, partner of ours, and we were like, "How can I solve a problem for you?" And they had the files, and then we worked with them to solve that problem for them, and that's how the company was born. So I'll say this as a general rule: find the problem first. We all have our personal biases, and if you are actually building it for someone else, a problem for another customer, you're more likely to build something that the market wants.
Yeah, maybe again a noob question, but it's we spoke about maybe potentially fundraising soon. I'm guessing you're going to get the classic like VC question, like why doesn't just like Gemini or OpenAI do this right over time? Their models are improving. How do you address that?
Yeah. So first of all, as those models improve, our system will improve. We use all of them. And because we use multiple of them, it'll always be better than just one of them. So that's just the benefit of using the AI tool chaining method. And the other thing is that we're built specifically for solving our customers' problems. They are docs. We have like auto docs where they don't. It's like a no code implementation of our solution. So that's what a lot of our customers need. That ease of implementation, that highest accuracy, and that reliability. So that's really what we can offer over than just like using the chat GPT wrapper is that we use that in our system. So you're going to get better results than just using that because we accompany it with all of the other models, as well as we're built specifically for extracting this data from these documents and getting that data in a specific way that their business needs with minimum effort from them. So at the end of the day, everything's an SQL wrapper, right? So everything's a wrapper of something. So it's just about how can I solve my customers' problems in a really good way. And the nuance here really is you really want to sell painkillers and not vitamins. And that's really the challenge in this case. So figuring out what the use cases are where these customers are really struggling and there's the solutions out there right now don't solve their problems without significant technical tasks from them. And our solution, they can set it up without any code. So that's really the unique thing that sets us apart is that we have a fully no code implementation where our customers can just paste something on their website and now they can accept, process, and analyze documents without any technical.
Yeah, yeah. You spoke about GPT wrapper, and made me think of this joke that kind of hurt. Was like, oh, you're just a wrapper on an LP, and I'm like, oh, that kind of hurts. How do you? How does the front end look like? So you said the no code implementation. Do you connect with existing platforms? Like I mentioned, Concur as maybe not. I don't know if that's the right example or not. But do you sit on top of them? Do you then integrate into some kind of backend? How does the actual customer interface look like?
Yeah, so we're a white label solution. We're a technology provider. So we just want to accept documents and give you some analysis of those documents. Pretty much that's it. Our front end allows customers to go set up these workflows just by clicking a few buttons and describing their workflow. And then they get a fully implemented like API call that they can just copy and paste, or a fully implemented front end widget that they can just copy and paste on their website. So there's no docs, there's no implementations. We've created what we call auto docs, where as you're graphically, visually setting up these workflows, it automatically creates the code snippet for you to just copy and paste. So that way we can seamlessly integrate with any API and allow our customers to integrate and implement this without any code or technical experience.
Yeah, you mentioned painkiller, which I think a very good way to think about like customer value. Who are you displacing? Are you first of all, are you displacing somewhere? Is there like a new budget line that needs to be created for discrepancy? Or is it like, oh no, there's this clunky old, you mentioned the old school OCR tools. Those are built in pre-AI era. You're AI native. Is that what you're displacing in terms of the budget for the customer?
Correct. It's both. So current implementations are these clunky OCR tools plus like human employees require to supplement it. So right now they can replace both of those with just our tool and maybe retain just 10% of the people that the past implementation had. So it's really replacing both. And yeah, we're seeing like 80% cost reductions for our customers for their document processing workflows.
Yeah. And what do you think about business model then? Like, how do you then apply, like, how do you monetize? Because I imagine it's a very different method than, like I said, the more legacy SaaS providers.
Yeah, scale. The answer is to scale to, because we want to be a technology provider. Like, we don't want to, let's say for rental screening, we don't want to partner with a landlord to screen. We want to partner with companies who screen rental applications, and then we can have all of that volume unlocked. So that's really the approach that we're going by targeting, by being technology providers for these service based companies, and really automate that service with technology.
Yeah, it almost makes me think like you're almost like a protocol that can sit on top of almost anything to a certain
Exactly.
extent.
That's a really good
Uh,
way to think about it. Yeah.
it's not like a SaaS, here's X number of seats, etc. And
No,
like,
no
so,
seats. It's strictly
yeah,
usage based. Yeah.
yeah. So I was going to ask the classic kind of dumb question of time and etc. And so, oh, what are the adjacent kind of use cases? But it's like, oh, wait a second, you mentioned something I hadn't caught up on. It's like, oh yeah, rental applications, like outside of the classic enterprise use case. That's very fascinating. Like, how do you think about your market, right? So, how are you going it after? Because it seems really broad, but at the same time, you can't boil the ocean.
Yeah. So honestly, one of the main things I think about a lot, because at the end of the day, we look at, hey, what is the application of our technology? And I could say it's income verification. But then the industries that require income verification, you have fintech, you have prop tech, right? You have insure tech. So there's like all these wide industries that require this exact use case to do it. And I've been told, oh, focus on only one industry, but it's the exact same technology. So I really would be limiting myself. But yeah, so that is something that we're like, I'm trying to, based on the messaging on our website, yeah, we need those different verticals to showcase that, hey, this, our solution is very versatile, but it's a double-edged sword. So yeah, you're absolutely right. And that is something where I personally am something that's, I'm against the grain on. Like, everyone says focus on one specific kind of like very niche vertical and do just that. And I rather focus on the problem that I'm solving and target as many verticals that have that problem. So I see the fact that multiple industries have this exact same problem that our company is solving as a really big positive thing. But the reality of it is that sometimes when you're targeting at these customers, it can get a little confusing.
Yeah, no, it's I've had this conversation with a lot of founders, and sometimes I think it depends, the like you mentioned, the problem that you're solving, the classic vertical versus horizontal. I won't mention the startup, the space, but it was obviously using these new AI tools, and it was like they're going about it in a very broad manner, but it didn't feel quite right. So maybe they should be a bit more vertical. But I find your insight is that we've really honed in on this use case of documents, which I find really fascinating. So, yeah, how does that then change your go to market, right? Because you don't have $100 million in the bank. So, how do you then attract customers in a way of, hey, like it is broad, but hey, we can solve this very specific problem that you have?
Yeah, the way I do it is by having a very robust content strategy and releasing lots and lots and lots of content that attempt to answer the questions of these customers, provide value to these customers. So if like we figure out what it is that they're searching, to that they have that problem and they're searching for a solution for that problem, and then we create content for that specific industry to do that. So yeah, I have a content team that helps with that. So I create content on, and then I distribute it on LinkedIn, on our website, and that's really how I do it. So yeah, try to find content that answers the questions of these customers and provide value to them, and that's really how I do it.
Yeah, this is not your first rodeo as well, right? So it's like you've been in the startup space for a while. Are there any lessons you think in the past? If I look at the past startups in terms of your go to market and then your product strategy, you mentioned content, which we spoke about before in terms of leveraging good content. How are you applying those things that you've learned in the past?
Yeah, so I would say one of the most important things is that timing is very important. So really look at timing. I had an AI startup actually a while ago called MetaRanks, and it was mainly like focused on no code AI entirely. And we were just way too early. It was like before GPT-2 even. And it was just way too early and it didn't work out. But I learned a lot about how to build AI models from that, and a lot like that gave me like a lot the timing for this business to be a lot better. And the other main thing is, I already said it, but I'll reiterate it, is that you have to create painkillers, not multivitamins. Find that, and it's really challenging, but it's what you have to do. A lot of, especially like technical founders like myself, we can fall into this pitfall of building technology that we think is cool without testing it in the market to see if people would pay for it. So now my recommendation would be, honestly, try and get early customer to pay for something, just your idea, even if it's peanuts, even if it's like nothing, and then trying to build that solution for them. If somebody's willing to put money on the line, you know that it's a painkiller problem. And then you're building it with them. So you're not going to have this personal bias that puts you down the wrong road, and then you end up building the wrong product.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with that advice. I think it's like applicable most of the time, right? Sometimes it's like, if I think of what we spoke about LLMs, as they did the opposite. They went in a lab for 6, 7 years and came out with something completely new and novel, but you're still in that kind of technical breakthrough. We spoke about the multiple models, but go ahead. I'll ask one question, but I'll let you respond.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I actually don't think that happened. As I said, like, I was in the AI space and I've known about, and it's actually been a very slow, methodical outward increase. What happened is that people just paid attention once GPT-3 was good enough, where people are like, wait, what? And then that's really when everyone started paying attention. But the increase in AI really was in like the early 2000s, when, and like the tens, when Google came up with the transformer architecture paper. And now all of these different AI models that we're seeing today are built on top of that architecture, on top of Google's architecture, which they released for free. And so, yeah, that's the really interesting thing, that the AI has been plugging along pretty steadily. It's just like lately it crossed this threshold where it's so good, it feels like magic. And that's why we're seeing this like rapid increase in adoption.
Yeah, yeah, the Turing test to a certain extent. I think that
It passed
we've
it. It passed it. It
yeah,
just happened. It passed it. So we're
yeah,
past that. So that's the
yeah,
crazy thing. We're past the
yeah.
Turing test. Like, AI now is indistinguishable. So that's, even it went from, in just a few years, from it like being like this will never do any useful work to it being indistinguishable.
Yeah. You're still in the early phases, man, of like building your startup. Do you think about a bold vision? I know it's a classic, oh, you have to put that on the slide one of the pitch deck and in order to attract people like to give you money, but at a more fundamental level, what do you think about the opportunity that's in front of you? Is it something that you want to build like a big company?
Yeah,
I don't think it's
yeah.
necessary but I'll let you respond.
Yeah, so for me, I this is really it's a really interesting though, but I find that when I'm with a lot of Canadian investors, they want you to be more grounded, and with American investors, they want you to be more like $1 trillion company, right?
Yeah.
So this is it's a really interesting, but I'll tell you, like, I believe in the American ideology of, you have to like dream big, be realistic, but dream big. So for us, we want to be the starting point for every document processing workflow. Every company that has to accept document from from one of their customers, we want to be that point of capture for those documents. Like, we say, structure at the point of capture. So that's really what we do, where these documents, before they even enter our customer's system, they're fully structured. So we want to be, yeah, that point of capture for every document in for every business, by having the really easy point of capture and a really convenient structured output.
Yeah, yeah, no, I definitely agree with the go big vision. And you said maybe sometimes it's like cultural to a certain extent. And my business model is like, hey, we need people to go big. I want to poke you. You're deep in the trenches, right? You're playing with all the models. Like curiosity, like maybe just out of curiosity, it's like, what are things? I know there's a lot of press attention about the two letters that we've been talking about, but what do you think is interesting that maybe most people don't talk about, that is maybe misunderstood a bit?
Yeah. The most misunderstood for me is that, like, I would like Chat GPT, for example. I'd be surprised if it's even in third place now. So it's crazy that it's like the most popular, where it's nowhere, like, it's not the best anymore. Not even close. It's like the most expensive. So that's the main thing. Like, Chat GPT, they lost. I don't get how they're still the most popular and the most wildly used. Like, Gemini is the best right now, and I would say, like, that for me, that's my like hand model that I talk about. That's the leader model. And then Grok and R1 even are perform better than it in certain tasks. And yeah, so that's the main thing that I'm like
That's interesting.
surprised about.
Yeah.
But the main thing is that I'm a little biased based because on the systems that we've built, but the future of AI systems will incorporate multiple AI models. I feel like AI models are commoditized, so they're a commodity now. And if you think about like electricity, for example, the grid doesn't have one source; it has multiple sources, right? That each then you need a balance of load, and some people even have had generators, right? So intelligence is the same, in my opinion, and these model companies are now commodities. They're clearly racing each other to the bottom. They're improving on performance and decreasing costs and all of these, and they're competing with each other with this. And us using those will win. We will win from it because we'll make them cheaper and better. And if you find a way to utilize multiple of them, then you can have something that works better than any one individual model. So that can give you a lot of there's a lot of improved products that you can build with that improved performance.
Yeah, that's a great take, man. That's a great take. Do you give any credence to the, like you said, there's a bit of a race to the bottom, but at the same time, it's a race. People, these companies are pouring billions into, especially the frontier models. Is there a possibility that one finds a recursive improvement, like a way to basically break ahead of the pack? Like you said, maybe there's no clear winner today. Maybe there's in terms of usage or the consumer side with ChatGPT. They seem to have just be the most popular, like from just a BDC perspective.
Yeah,
But is there one where it's like, hey, they figured out something and it just improves dramatically? Is that a possibility in your view?
it is a possibility, but to me, if anybody's going to do that, it's Google. Who else would have the data, have the compute, have the talent to do that? And then maybe Grok can do that as well. I don't see ChatGPT ever doing that. Their rate of innovation has like that it's done. Like all of their top people left. Like they are the most popular one, and that is true. But I feel like they are Internet Explorer like in the 90s.
Oh,
So
interesting. Yeah, that's a
yeah,
good
so
take, man. I love that take. Yeah,
I don't get it. I do not get it.
yeah,
I think people are
yeah,
just comfortable, so they're not going to
yeah.
switch because it's good enough.
Yeah. There's also two businesses, right? There's the enterprise business, companies that use the API, and then there's the consumer business, right? I'm pretty sure the consumer business probably going to be bigger, but I don't know, right? Because I find
Yeah,
enterprise is so many different use cases than just like cloud, for instance, right?
for enterprise, I really don't see them performing, but for consumer, they're probably going to be top dog for forever, just because even when I'm using an AI model to look for something, I'm going to say I'm just going to GPT it, even though I don't use Chat GPT. So it's become like the synonymous brand name, like hot tub or band
Yeah,
aid.
Google, right?
Yeah,
Googling
Google
something.
it. Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, of course. So I think the consumer side is going to be fine, but in terms of like business, like I don't find their API to be like honestly
Yeah.
like top three in some applications.
Yeah.
Like they're third, but not
Yeah.
all. Some they're fourth.
What are you most excited about, like in the next few years, in terms of what you're reading on the technical side, the research?
Robotics. Yeah, I'm
Oh,
most
interesting. Yeah.
excited about these action token general models that can do the same thing that LLMs did for text, but for action. So for me, I've applied to it. So many of us to get access to the Google robotics one. So I'll tell you the use case that we want to do. So many of our customers that are processing these documents have physical documents, right? So right now they would have to go take a picture, next document, take a picture. It would be super cool if a robot could do that digitization for them, while flipping the page, taking the picture, flipping the page, and taking the picture, and digitizing these physical documents without humans there. So that to me is like the trying to talk to these customers about like using our services to index their documents. A lot of them are like our documents are like paper. So I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't help you there yet. You have to take a picture of it, and then we can build that workflow super simple, so you can picture, and then it automatically absorbs these documents as without any further tasks. But yeah, like you still need the person physically there to do the work. And that's where I really see the general robotics models, action token based. I think that's going to be in the next 5 years. That's what's going to be the most groundbreaking thing that we see.
Yeah, fascinating, fascinating. Just crazy to think about. Hey, we're gonna have need humanoid robots that do these tasks. And then maybe a small anecdote. I used to work at Google a long time ago, and I remember hearing about these projects. And it was like in the mid 2000s of trying to. That was a project for Google Books, and the plan was to digitize all physical books that are like out of circulation, so all pre 1900 books or something like that. And they ended up, I think the project got kiboshed. I think they got a lot of pushback for whatever reason, but it was crazy. It was like people literally flipping the pages of books and taking pictures. I was like, hey, it could probably go faster if you have
Yeah, yeah.
robots.
Google won that lawsuit, so it's all good.
That's
Yeah,
it.
so
Yeah.
there was actually a lawsuit for that because Google was digitizing all these books and there's like copyright violations. But as far as I know, it was determined to be fair use.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah, I think so. And
Yeah,
it was
yeah. I
one
mean,
of
like,
those
yeah,
things.
making them searchable. That's a huge capability that didn't exist
That's it.
before.
Yeah. And I think it's good for people overall, right? Hey, like you
Yeah,
have these old books that are now open to anyways. Leslie, I could probably bug you, man, for a while. Maybe just a few more questions on discrepancy. What are the next steps? What are maybe a call to action also for the people listening, like things that you're working on, plans to scale, fundraising. I'll let you answer it any way you want.
yeah. So right now we're launching a new product called Report Builder. So currently customers can use us to convert any document they have into structured data. But a lot of customers then have this document and they need to create reports from them. So that's like PDFs, slides. These are multi-page reports that's the AIs right now cannot generate with one pass. So we've created a system to generate these like 50, 100-page reports from thousands of inbound incoming files that's outside of context of any models right now that you can't do it anywhere else. But yeah, we've developed a system that can generate these complex reports and can even replicate existing reports that you have with new data. So yeah, we're launching our report agent soon, and we even have an email report agent that allows you to interact with our AI via email as you would a regular employee. So yeah, we're launching our report agent platform right now. We're launching it this week. And yeah, to get in touch with us, go to discrepancyai.com and yeah, you can sign up for a free trial or Google me, Lisen Kaci, Lisenkaci. Search me on LinkedIn, but like I'm the only one on Google. It's the best way to get in touch with me.
Say we both have complicated names, which is really good for the SEO juice.
That's
So,
right. That's right.
yeah. Listen, thank you so much for your time, man. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, same here, Nectar. Thank you for having me. It was a blast.